internet is going wild after years in the spotlight, hearing Barron Trump's voice.
Barron Trump was the quietest kid in the room, but also the most observed. No yearbook pictures, no cafeteria lunches, a fake name in the system. And now, a classmate has finally broken the silence. What they shared is astonishing. Encrypted devices, unspoken codes, unusual routines, and rare glimpses of Barron's true self. From secret soccer matches to a $50,000 Rolex, this isn't the Barron you thought you knew. Why was he kept so hidden? And what did this classmate feel the world needed to hear? Let's find out. But before we continue, we'd love for you to hit the subscribe button if you're enjoying this video. If you just did, we truly appreciate it. Now, let's get back to the main content. Behind the gates, life inside Oxbridge Academy with Barron. He was present, but almost invisible. He roamed the same hallways, sat in the same classrooms, maybe even stood just feet away from you at the vending machine. Yet many students say attending Oxbridge Academy alongside Barron Trump felt more like attending school near him, not with him. His name was absent from the school records. No yearbook shots, no lunchtime socializing. As the son of a president, Barron was more like a ghost inside this $30,000 a year fortress. So who was Barron Trump, really? Why was he kept so hidden? And what did the classmate finally disclose that stunned everyone? In 2017, right as his father was sworn in as the 45th president, Barron started at Oxbridge Academy in West Palm Beach, Florida. While typical juniors worried about pimples, science tests, or lunch plans, Barron entered a school known for its academic rigor and extreme privacy. Oxbridge isn't your average prep school. It was founded by a billionaire, staffed with hand-picked teachers, and tailored for the elite. Class sizes were small. The student-to-teacher ratio was strictly controlled. The technology was cutting-edge, and discretion was an unspoken rule. It was a place where children of tech CEOs, hedge fund billionaires, and even royalty could study in peace, and where someone like Barron could essentially vanish. But what happens when someone who's supposed to stay invisible suddenly has their story told by someone who witnessed it all? And vanish he did. From day one, Barron's time at Oxbridge was surrounded by security layers no other student faced. His comings and goings were tightly coordinated with the Secret Service. Agents patrolled the campus subtly, blending in, but always alert. While other students rode the bus or were dropped off by parents, Barron arrived in dark, tinted SUVs, accompanied by silent hand signals. You couldn't miss the weight of authority around him. Ironically, that very presence only made Barron seem more distant. Oddly enough, his real name wasn't even in the school's system, in any way accessible to regular students or many staff members. According to the classmate who recently spoke out, Barron was enrolled under a false name. His actual name never appeared on class lists or any public-facing records. Teachers and school officials were reportedly told to use only his alias outside of official paperwork. Why go to such extreme lengths? To guard against cyber threats. Any hacker trying to break into school databases to track Barron's schedule would be chasing a digital phantom. That's how seriously his safety and privacy were protected. Could this intricate secrecy be part of what his classmate risked everything to reveal? It clearly worked. Most of Barron's classmates knew who he was. You can't exactly overlook a 6'9" teenager whose father is one of the most controversial political figures of our time. But knowing of him wasn't the same as really knowing him. And that's where the mystery thickens. He never showed up in group photos. He was always just outside the shot or missing entirely. Class pictures, yearbooks, sports team photos, none included him. Even on social media, students were reportedly asked not to post any pictures of him, whether on purpose or accidentally. "We all just got used to it," one peer said. "You knew not to tag him. You knew not to mention him online. It wasn't a written rule, it was just understood." And in that silence a kind of legend grew. Students whispered about where he went after school, if he had a different lunch schedule, or if he was even real at all. But he was real. Very real. And impossible to miss, especially at 6'9". Barron was one of the tallest students at Oxbridge, standing out in any hallway or classroom. Still, his presence was deliberately low-key. He moved carefully, always surrounded yet strangely isolated. Unlike most teens who crave attention or social approval, Barron shunned both. He skipped dances, avoided pep rallies, and never showed up for homecoming. He was rarely seen at football games, even though his size made him a natural fit. He was in our world, but not really part of it, a student said. It was like he was playing a completely different game. And that was exactly the point. But now, years later, that silence is finally breaking. The person who witnessed it all from the inside is ready to share their story. 0652. What the alleged classmate disclosed, and why it's shocking. After years of total silence around Barron Trump's secretive high school life, a former classmate has stepped forward with details no one, not even the press, had ever revealed. From code names and encrypted devices to secret routines and unusual emotional barriers, this classmate's first-hand memories paint the clearest picture we've ever gotten of what it was like to be near Barron Trump. But who is this anonymous source? And what finally made them speak out now? Based on interviews and anonymous tips shared on public forums, the source is believed to have taken at least 2 classes alongside Barron at Oxbridge Academy. What adds weight to their account is the incredible level of detail they reveal. Details that would be nearly impossible to fabricate. They say they waited until after graduation to come forward, partly out of respect for Barron's privacy and partly because of fear. Now that school is behind them and the intense security measures around Barron's daily routine have eased, the classmate decided it was time to tell what it was really like attending school with him. Why speak up now? The classmate says it's not about chasing fame. It's about curiosity, closure, and the feeling that people think they know him but they don't. The most striking thing about Barron, according to this person, wasn't his famous last name or the security detail. It was his energy. He wasn't just the president's son, the classmate said. He was something completely different. I've never met anyone like him. This wasn't admiration or sarcasm. It was genuine confusion. They recalled moments when Barron seemed almost too composed for a teenager, too calm despite constant surveillance, and too withdrawn, but not awkwardly so, more like intentionally distant. This wasn't someone trying to blend in or stand out. He seemed to hover just beyond reach. According to the classmate, many students didn't even realize who Barron truly was for months after school started. Despite his towering height and recognizable face from the news, Barron was officially registered under a different name. Not only in school records, but even among students. They were subtly told that the tall kid belonged to a private family and that they shouldn't ask questions. Barron never corrected anyone. It was strange, the classmate recalled. We had no clue who he really was until someone accidentally spilled the truth. I thought maybe he was the kid of some foreign diplomat. I never guessed, Trump's kid. One of the most consistent behaviors was Barron's complete refusal to eat on campus. He never brought food, never accepted food, never ate anything from the cafeteria, the classmate said. He'd sit, maybe listen or talk a little, but never eat. While some speculated it was a diet or even an eating disorder, the classmate offered another explanation. Security concerns. There was always the risk of tampered food. The idea that something as simple as a sandwich could be a security risk might sound extreme, but for a presidential family, that's standard procedure. He probably wasn't even allowed to take gum, the classmate added. The social dynamics around Barron were just as unusual. The classmate described an unspoken rule among students. Don't approach him unless he reached out first. No one explicitly said it. It was just understood. He could be right there in the room and everyone would act like he wasn't there unless he made the first move. Sometimes he did, but most of the time he kept to himself. He wasn't unfriendly, the classmate explained. He was just observing, like he was always thinking 3 steps ahead in any conversation. Could that quiet watchfulness be the result of years of training to identify threats, weigh options, and protect everything, even his words? One moment that stuck with the classmate happened during a low-key group project. Someone joked about the school's new surveillance cameras, and without looking up, Barron dryly remarked, "I know more about surveillance than the teachers." Everyone laughed, but then the room went quiet because nobody was sure if he was joking. It was one of those laughs you have first, then realize maybe it wasn't funny at all. There were even stranger stories, not just about his behavior, but about technology. According to the classmate, Barron never used the standard school laptops or tablets. Instead, he had his own device, something that looked like a cross between a tablet and a military-grade encrypted laptop. It was clear it wasn't normal, they said. The logo was covered up and he never left it unattended, not once. The guess? It was a secure encrypted device provided by the Secret Service, built for safe communication, but disguised to blend in. He was like part student, part secret agent, the classmate joked. When it came to big school events, proms, pep rallies, graduation rehearsals, Barron was noticeably absent. He skipped rehearsals for graduation. He didn't go to dances. The only time he showed up was at the actual graduation ceremony, where he arrived quietly and left quickly, flanked by agents. It felt less like he was graduating with us, and more like he was just passing through the event, the classmate recalled. Emotionally, Barron was mostly unreadable. He never opened up about personal things, no stories about holidays, vacations, or family. One student called him a walking blank slate, but every so often, that slate cracked. The classmate remembered a rare moment during a discussion about last names when Barron quietly said, "I just wish people would talk to me without thinking of him." No explanation, just those words. Everyone knew he meant Donald. "That was the closest I ever saw him show frustration," the classmate said. Despite all the emotional barriers, silence, and rules, the students still noticed Barron. They respected him, maybe even liked him, quietly. "We were in awe of him, but we didn't really know how to include him," the classmate admitted. You didn't want to break the unspoken rules around him, even when you weren't exactly sure what those rules were. But what really stood out were the small human moments. Barron would occasionally help classmates struggling with notes. He once delivered a dry, perfectly timed compliment on someone's presentation. He was known to give a subtle nod when someone said something clever in class. It felt like he didn't want to be part of the crowd, but he also didn't want to be against us, the student said. Maybe those quiet, subtle gestures are exactly why the classmate felt compelled to share their story, because no one else ever noticed them. Ultimately, this picture of Barron Trump isn't one of coldness, arrogance, or isolation. It's of someone deeply controlled, highly observant, and, as the classmate put it, truly one of a kind. Whatever rules he lived under, whatever challenges he faced, he handled it with a level of maturity most teenagers never reach. What happened next? Barron Trump after high school. In the fall of 2024, Barron enrolled at New York University's Stern School of Business. That might seem ordinary, except Barron is no longer the quiet kid lurking in the background. He's re-emerging. And what we're seeing isn't the high school ghost of Oxbridge Academy, but a young adult quietly and deliberately shaping a future nobody expected. According to sources close to the family, Barron's choice to attend NYU wasn't a casual decision. It was strategic. NYU gave him exactly what he needed: a challenging academic program, a bustling city that provides anonymity and close proximity to the Trump family's headquarters at Trump Tower. During breaks and weekends, Barron reportedly returns to the tower, avoiding dorm life and maintaining the same level of private security he's had most of his life. NYU isn't just about business studies. It's also about managing public exposure and navigating life in a city famous for opportunity and obsession. So why didn't he pick Wharton, the University of Pennsylvania's business school where his father studied? That question has many speculating. The answer may reveal more than Barron will ever say aloud. By passing on Wharton, Barron might be signaling a desire to step away from legacy and carve out his own path. While Ivanka and Don Jr. leaned into the Trump name early on, Barron has always kept a deliberate distance. Choosing NYU over a legacy institution could be his way of creating space, professionally, mentally, and socially, between himself and the identity the world has long assigned him. Could this be the first step in Barron Trump redefining who he really is? Since starting college, classmates describe him in ways that show the mystery hasn't vanished. It's just shifted. They call him polite, serious, incredibly composed, and often quietly charming. Unlike in high school, he's no longer withdrawn. He participates more in class, asks questions, and even shows up at some group events. Yet, he still keeps a strong sense of distance. One student said, "He talks to people now. He shows up. But there's still something guarded. It's like watching someone who always knows the cameras are rolling." Still, something unexpected is happening. Barron has reportedly gained popularity, especially among female classmates, not because of celebrity appeal, but because of a quiet intrigue and protective curiosity. He's not loud or flashy, but he has a presence that draws people in, even if they don't fully understand it. He's been seen attending private tech panels organized by professors and alumni, quietly sitting in on advanced talks about artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data privacy. Some think he's quietly networking, discussing projects and internships without making any public announcements. Then there's the Rolex. In March 2025, Barron was spotted returning to Trump Tower with Melania, wearing a Rolex Daytona, worth over $50,000. It wasn't the price that caught attention. It was the change in his demeanor. Up until then, Barron kept a low-key, modest public presence. But this was different. The watch, the tailored suit, the confident posture, it all signaled someone who knows exactly the message he's sending. He wasn't a kid anymore. For the first time, he was visibly projecting confidence. What makes this even more interesting is the emotional side of it. Barron wasn't just raised in the spotlight. He was carefully managed behind the scenes. From early on, Melania Trump was determined to protect her son from the chaos of the presidency. She made sometimes controversial choices to keep Barron away from photo ops, interviews, and press events. The result? A child who learned to observe instead of perform. Someone who watched from afar and figured out when to step forward and when to disappear. Even now, Barron doesn't post on public social media. He's never gone viral on TikTok. He hasn't tweeted a single thing. His generation lives online, but Barron exists in the spaces in between. And yet people still talk about him. People share sightings, whisper stories, and post anonymous encounters. Somehow, without saying a word, Barron remains the center of attention. According to the classmate who came forward earlier, Barron's power comes from precisely that, his quiet refusal to compete. He never felt the need to prove anything. That's what made him stand out. He wasn't trying to be mysterious. He simply was. In a world obsessed with being seen, Barron created his own kind of presence, unspoken, deliberate, and deeply self-aware. That kind of restraint is uncommon. That level of control is something you learn. So far, Barron has shown he doesn't need politics to make an impact. He doesn't need a public platform to stay relevant. His talents, decisions, and boundaries all suggest someone who knows exactly how influence works, even when it's silent. In fact, his greatest strength might not be his background or education, but his ability to navigate powerful spaces without losing control of his own story. As the world continues to watch Barron Trump with curiosity, speculation, and a bit of admiration, one thing is becoming clear. His silence wasn't accidental. It was intentional. And now, for the first time, we're starting to understand what that silence was meant to protect. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out the next video for more great content.